Next half hour, we will have today's second panel discussion about a leap from regional to global deals, China Biopharm's licensing strategy revolution, hosted by Ginger Ding, the managing director of MSQ. Let's welcome her to give us a wonderful talk.
Thank you, Zian, for the nice introduction. Yes, this is Ginger. A great honor to be the host of the panel. So for this who are regular of our event, should know that our focus is cross-border collaboration. And in our last event, we talk about the reversal in licensing direction, meaning from in to out. So actually in the past few months, it's very, very exciting to see that several companies are transitioning from licensing for China to licensing for global. So in my opinion, I think it's really a good reflection that the emergency of China biopharma is no longer just a China story. It is a global one, and will pose profound implication for years to come. So, today, for today's panel, we have invited a few renowned deal makers to share us what should be taken into considerations when doing global deal, how to prepare, how to approach, and how to execute. So before we dive into today's discussion, I'd like to welcome a quick introduction around the table. I will start with James, please.
Hi, good morning, Ginger. Thank you for inviting me to this distinguished panel. I'm James Xue, founder, chairman, and CEO of CANbridge Pharmaceuticals. Our company is one of the first based in Asia, definitely first in China, to address exclusively rare disease in not just China, but also global medical need. So currently we have products from various stages, from preclinical IND, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and post-market. So I've been leading the company since its inception for the past 9 years. And just last Friday, we got listed in the Hong Kong Exchange.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thank you, James. Next, I'd like to turn to Eddy. Eddy Wu, please.
Yep. Hi, thanks, Ginger, thanks, everyone. I'm Eddy. I'm the CEO and founders of Arctic Visions. Arctic Vision is a very focused ophthalmology biotech company. We established it in 2019 and covering from the very innovative therapy, including cell therapy, gene therapy, to some of the other sport coverings to the mass market, including myopia, presbyopia, and dry eye as well. So we would like to utilize different wave and different approach to fulfill our product spectrums, including in-house R&D, licensing in, collaborations with academic or biotech collaborations as well. So now we are have announced around 7 to 8 pipeline, and we are also running several phase 3 in China as well.
Yeah, that's very impressive in such short period of time. Thank you, Eddy, for the nice introduction. Next time we'll move to Yuan.
Thank you, Ginger, for having me. My name is Yuan, founder and the CEO of BioNova Pharmaceuticals. We're located in Zhangjiang High Tech Park in Shanghai. The company is barely 3 years old, but we have made some serious achievements in submitting the first licensed product for new drug application just last month. And we're now also preparing 2 INDs for moving on to clinical stage. In the biotech and pharmaceutical industry, I think we don't need to debate whether licensing or not, because the key word for this industry is deals, right? If there is no deals, there is no such industry. But how we utilize it for the best benefit of China, for the best benefit of the Chinese industry, that's what we are here to debate and to discuss. And I look forward to the brainstorming with the panelists.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, making deals, it's a very health situation for our ecosystem. Then lastly, Yuan, can you please make an introduction?
Sure. Thank you for inviting me to this distinguished panel. So my name is Yuan. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Oncusp Therapeutics. This company is founded earlier this year, and we are solely focused on global. So we are doing we are building a US-based translational development team, and we are focusing on taking global competitive preclinical assets into clinical stage and hopefully achieve clinical proof of concept. And then we want to do partnership with multinational companies or specialty pharma. So that's our business model, and we currently already assemble 3 assets, and we are still keep looking for late preclinical assets to further build the portfolio. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bing. Yeah, it's quite an interesting business model. I'm sure we will come back to you with more, ask more details. And lastly, I'm Ginger Ding. I'm the managing director at MSQ Ventures. Myself is a scientist by training, being cross-border advisor for both buy and the sell side. So at MSQ, our mission is to bring innovative drug to China, and my responsibility is to oversee the transaction activities. Okay, so as I mentioned in the very beginning, right, it is a trend that more and more Chinese companies develop appetite for global rights. I believe our audience must be interested to know what is the reason behind and what are the real drivers for such transition. I will turn this question to James first.
Thank you, Ginger. I think for any biopharma companies, their goal, no matter where they started, always they should have aspiration to be a global player at some point. And then for us, CANbridge, we really work on rare disease. If you look at in the past 30 years of history, started with Genzyme, every single rare disease company has a characterization that they have to be global, in order to capture all these patients, because the patient population already is small enough. And on the other hand, the trial, the design, the approval, is very much kind of globalized. And therefore you recruit patients, and then you from different part, and then you get the full commercialization value realized for the product. So therefore, develop a product in the rare disease space, most likely it's going to be a global development plan versus just regional. But for us, with a strong focus for the China market is our most important market for CANbridge. We have to look at both the expectation and the reality. And the reimbursement issue for rare disease is actually particularly a hindrance, for any company to realize their potential in today's China market. So therefore, it forced all these players, including CANbridge, to look beyond China, before China really can step up to becoming a mature market. So therefore, that's one factor. And the other factor is, for us, when we develop a product, that we will invest in the what we call the upfront cost for preclinical CMC, the proof of concept study. Those valuable data generated from those significant investment has to be better measured in terms of the output by its full potential rather than just a China market value, and that make the return on investment more justifiable. I think based on these two factors, that's, in my opinion, that more and more companies going, to have to think beyond China, in particular, for rare disease players.
Yeah, thank you, James. Yeah, I think a rare disease drug development probably is a very unique situation, right? Because probably for even China has the largest population, but still not only for clinical trials, but also from the perspective of commercialization, probably it's not enough incentive. So I'm wondering if there is any more generic reasons behind. So how about Bing? Do you want a little bit of color to this conversation?
Absolutely. So I'll probably also speak about 3 points. Number one is the technology and the ecosystem readiness, because last 6 years, like a big booming in biotech industry in China, and many talented and highly experienced scientists, especially going back to China, build the either the CRO system or the companies they founded. Now the assets with a global competitive advantage is already emerging. Although most of them still me too, but you can see there are global first-in-class or global top 3 assets are emerging and coming, and there are deals already made by some companies. So that's I think it's a technology or ecosystem is ready. Secondly is the pressure from the China focused approach, because of the reimbursement pressure, as James just mentioned, and also the increasing R&D cost, and even for in-license for China, that the cost of in-license become super high because of the competition. Then all these factors makes the China-only strategy quite challenging. But global is very different, right? The number 3 point, basically, I want to say that market is much bigger than China. China is only like arguably 10 to 15% of global market, but the huge markets out there as far as you can have global competitive assets, and also because of the especially since last year, there are so many successful out-licensing deals by Chinese companies. People not only see this as a potential huge market to tap into, but actually already see people can get the profit from that. So I would say these 3 factors is the underlying driving force for such an outward drive. Thank you.
Thank you, Bing. Eddy, do you have anything to add? Probably Bing already covered a lot for this conversation. Eddy, yes, please.
Yeah, so but in general, I believe this is a quite hot topic, talking about license in, license out in the market, especially for the Chinese biotechs recently. But to be very honest, for me, this is quite weird topics because as Hua already mentioned, this is part of our industry, right? Even for a big farmers like Novartis, Pfizer, they keep continue doing license in, license out. So this is not something very specific at this moment. This is already part of the industry for a long while already. But why the focus recently are trying to talking about why the biotechnology should or should not do some global right, or should not doing some license in, license out. I believe it's because some of the because of the reactions to the market, I mean the appetite and the feelings as well. So because that some investors, they are not fully understand the industry very well, so they're challenging about the licensing in model recently, and also some of the investors, they would like to ask their biotech company they invested to prove themselves, to allowing them to license out their products to show the muscles to the world. But in theory, both of those type of short-term the tactical reactions, from my point of view, is not very healthy. Because what we have to bear in mind is what is the purpose of the company, why you are existing, and what is your long-term goal. If you believe that if you would like to license in something for the companies to build your product spectrum, products pipeline in a healthy way, then do so, regardless of whether this is from the US or from Europe or even from Japan or Australia. But if you believe that if the product you developed could be a long-term benefits to your company in the outside of the Chinese market, then to be honest, at this moment, you don't need to show muscle or show powers to the external and give up the rights to the others MNC or to others biotech in the US or in Europe to just demonstrate that you are capable to do so, because you are really forgiving the long-term benefits of your company as well. So just think about the purpose of the company, think about what is your long-term vision and missions of the company, and also ask yourself if your investor or if the external asking you to do some actions, just try to show the muscle, show your capability to licensing out your product. Maybe your investor or the external party is not really fully treasure your value as well, right? Because they don't understand. So this is the reason why they want the third party to help them to validate your technology, your product. So then you may need to carefully consider whether this is a good investor or a good parties to work with as well. So I believe that the others panelists point out many other factors, but I just want to bring back the topic here again is why we have to do it and what is the major reasons of doing this. It's not really because of showing the powers to anyone. It's just talking about your long-term mission. If your long-term mission is if you like to not stepping into US market anymore, then I'll license it. If this is not your idea, then don't follow the market's trend to do such type of activities. Yeah, just some of my opinion.
Yeah, that's very insightful. Yehua, what is your thoughts on this?
Thank you for asking me. Let me clarify. I think people often mixed with two basic concepts. So those are, like you mentioned, global deals, local deals. In our world, we're working on cutting edge technology, medicine that are truly innovative. Just name one. Which innovative product that is only local, that is only good in one country, but not the rest of the world? There is none. It doesn't exist. So if this is a truly meaningful product, it's definitely of global value. And we happen to be a group of scientists who had overseas training and to help the local Chinese industry to grow, because it's relatively a new industry. And that's why we have a license in and later on license out. So essentially, it is to utilize the best potential of each company to get the best benefit of the product. For instance, I'm holding a mug from Eddy Laboratories. And the company when I worked for, that was 20 years ago, it's called Eddy Laboratories. Today it's called AbbVie. And I was lucky working on D2E7. You probably don't know what D2E7 is about. And the commercial name is called Humira. And Humira was discovered in Ludwigshafen and Worcester, Massachusetts by a small biotech called Knoll, which is a subsidiary of BASF, a large German chemical company. Eddy Laboratories acquired this company and make it full-blown of the development, which although anti-TNF-alpha was not the first on the market, after Enbrel and Remicade, it's the third in class, but this is the drug on earth. So that tells you the value of licensing, because Abbott, being a very successful large pharma, has the capability of full-blown of clinical development and commercialization, whereas BASF, no, they are relatively small, cannot take the product up to that level. So do I believe? No, BASF will achieve the same outcome as Abbott? I seriously doubt about it. And that's why we need to have the deals. Biotech, they're usually with good innovations and creations, but the late stage life cycle development, commercialization, we typically will rely on big giants, large pharmaceuticals. In our world, in the pharmaceutical world, size matters. So that's one. Second, I think we're mixing two concepts with truly to develop a product for the purpose. The whole purpose is for the sake of the product, and the fake purpose use the product or company as a kind of excuse, but the underlying agenda was for financial reasons. And that is the licensing, which now had a serious headwinds and which people know what they are truly about. In the past few years, you can see many VC-backed startup companies utilizing licensing approach to acquire assets for the Chinese right. And most of those deals, to be honest, I think it's just a way of creative financing operation. The VCs invested 100 million, and in 3 years, they will have a 1 billion return. That was why licensing being demonized in Hong Kong or elsewhere for this type of a company. And to avoid such criticism, we cannot forget the true purpose, the 不忘初心. We need to do the best for the product, not for financial processes.
Thank you. Yeah, I like the idea of 不忘初心. Yeah, so I think, of course, if there is a really good drug, of course, our goal is not only to serve people in China, but globally, right? But the tough question here is that, let's say if a Chinese company wants a global right, so at the sales side, why they should pick a Chinese company instead of a multinational company? Probably this is a tough question, and I'm going to challenge Bing first, because your model is basically you licensing global rights, right?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to clarify that our company is not a Chinese company. We are, at the very beginning, positioned ourselves as a global company. Our office is in New York and Shanghai, but our R&D team, especially as I mentioned, our core competency is a late preclinical and the translational and clinical early clinical development. That team is in the US. So our BD, of course, is on both sides to find opportunities. So we built a global development capability and a global BD capability, especially eventually our licensing, because we have, if you know our track record and background, you know that we have a probably a large connection and network in the entire industry, especially in oncology. So on the global side, that's why we are trying to if we try to convince the companies who give us a global right, or in the case of Chinese companies, they give us ex-China rights. Our background and a global focus and a global capability, you can consider us as a U.S. company going after those assets, because our core competency is the U.S., not China. So that's the key difference. Although some of our investors and some of the key members like myself originate from China, but this company is a global company. So that's why I don't see this as an issue for us, because putting myself and our co-founders' backgrounds, which is a mixture of different ethnic groups, we have no difference from US-based biotech.
Thank you, B. Yeah. So how about James? I know you probably already closed at least 2 global deals before going public. So did you ever get such question from the licensor saying, okay, we want to reserve the global rights for multinational companies? And how did you address that question?
Well, I think again, it's on the business model. Their companies really want to capitalize on the China market, right? Because not that many small, mid-sized companies globally know how to run China market. Those are the ones that specialized. But also, I think for the vast majority of the up and coming China-based or China-focused biopharma companies, they really wanted to develop good products. Nobody tell me that they just want to sell good products, right? So therefore, your entry point for develop good products, when those already reach to phase 3, it's going to be very expensive. It's unrealistic to acquire such an asset that is already in phase 3 on a global scale. So therefore, if you really, the aspiration of the companies to develop products, then therefore earlier stage would be the fair entry point. Whether they, enter by inventing the molecule in-house or get it somewhere, I really don't think that's, matters too much. However, if a company would like to build products, but also to build some internal capabilities, including platforms, therefore license is a must. Because whenever we do a license agreement, there's a wraps and warranty about background IP, right? Which I think the previous panel was about IP. So therefore, nobody actually can work in a vacuum. You have to be enabled by other IPs in order to do meaningful research and development effort. So for CANbridge, the recent deals, if you pay attention to, we actually shifted not just from late stage assets to earlier stage assets, but also we have a focus on technology, on enabling technology that will allow CANbridge to build or integrated capabilities to generate our own drug candidates. I think those are the trend I see actually companies that has been appreciated by the investment communities on a global standard, that are migrating from just using other people's technology to start to build their own technology. Whether that technology you can say is first class or second class, it doesn't matter. But I think this trend started to shift, and then started to make me generate more confidence that the next generation of the biopharma companies will be the ones that actually could produce and generate their own global proprietary products.
Thank you, James. Eddy, do you want to add some color here?
Yep. So thanks for the questions as well. So to be very honest, we did quite a lot of deals competing with MNC. So for example, some of the technologies we acquired necessary to cooperate with our technology providers. For example, some of our products utilizing the supercolloidal space injections technology, the IP is controlled by our licensor. If we are not collaborating with them, we could not utilize those technology. So, like in the US, Bosch and Norm, Canada's the right offered us to this company, and for our another product for the myopia, presbyopia, for the microdosings, for the eye surface, we work with another technology providers called Innovius. Their technology in the US and Canada is also licensed to Bosch and Norm as well. Because if we are not taking those type of technologies license, we could not bring those technology IPs to China or to our patients. So this is why I keep mentioning that purpose of doing the licensing is much more important than the deal, the money behind, because every single deals you are serving the purpose of the company. If you are repeating doing something the other company are doing, I agree that this is wasting of the money, wasting the hospital resources, wasting the patient's resources. But if the deal is really valuable, then you should do it. Otherwise, the technologies could not be happening in your territories. Then get back to your questions directly, is how we could compete with the global MNC, or why they have to reserve it to us. I believe that our case is a very good example. Multiple MNC are competing with us for the China rights or for the Asia's right. But finally, why our technology providers secures the right for us, the IP, the technologies provided to us instead of the other, is because we are really focused on ophthalmology. And at the same time, we told our partner that we will develop in what shape in the futures, how is our development plan, and how will be our sales, and how will be our commercialization teams, how will be our channels. We provide all those things in a very detailed manner. And also we allow our partners to understand that we are a trustful partners as well. To be honest, I believe that as a biotech, as a young biotech, we have our advantage versus MNC. Our partners also worry about us whether their product or the technologies will be forget will be not being developed further by the MNC in their company. But for us as a small biotech or as an emerging biotech, this is our core product. This is our core business. We could not neglect it. So I believe that this is somehow we can bring the confidence to our partners as well. But again, still is how is your planning? How is your capabilities? From day one, based on our founder teams, I show them that we have a very capable multinational company, Alcon Clinicals head in our team as our CMO. The elegance general managers for eye care business units is currently our commercial officer. So we tell the partners that why we could develop the product, and together say why we can sell the product as well. So I believe that all those elements are very important to convince our partners. But again, I believe that we have advantage versus MNC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least the three of you convinced me to some level that you definitely have some advantage over multinational companies. So because all of our panelists have the ambition, right, to be on the global stage, one of the stages. So my next question is about the manufacturing and commercialization in ex-China regions, because for clinical development, you can use CRO, but for the manufacturing and the commercialization, probably you can either go organic expansion or through partnership. So do you guys have any plans on that? I will start with Hua, please.
I haven't got any global deals so far, so this is something that I need to consider in the future.
All right.
Like I always say, we do whatever we are able to do, right? So we cannot test our limit to handle certain tasks that are set for failure, right? And if you don't have that critical mass, which do require for CMC manufacturing and a large platform for commercialization, then forget about it. We cannot handle. You have to rely on CSO to do the sales. You have to rely on CMO to do the drug products manufacturing, and simple like that. But if one day our company grow, which I'm sure it will in my lifetime, to the size like a Hengrui, of course, we can take over the global challenges for commercializing any products.
Yeah, I think probably this question is more on the near agenda for James. James, can you please give us some thoughts on the commercialization overseas?
Yeah, we have 10 rare disease products, either commercial or in the development stage. 7 out of the 10 we own global rights, and the majority of the 7 we plan to develop fully into the global value. That doesn't mean that we do everything globally, but we like them to see them through the global launch. And then in terms of commercialization, rare disease is quite a unique business model. You really can launch $1 billion product just with a few hundred people on a commercial team size, versus thousands, for general or the oncology, because the reimbursement system globally are pretty mature, established. The pricing is pretty favorable. The margin is pretty healthy. On the other hand, in terms of the product supply and the manufacturing, I think there's no fixed formula. We have actually already planned for our gene therapy program, for example. All of those we currently have disclosed 2 preclinical candidates, but we have an additional one that yet to be announced. That all of these actually are, we position as either first in class or best in class globally. And then we probably, for a portion of that, we would not start in China in terms of the first in human study. We probably start outside China, as outside China, the regulatory framework is more matured. The availability of the manufacturing source, high quality manufacturing source, is also more than inside China. But even with this said, we have a reserved or flexibility to use CDMOs, global CDMOs, including WuXi Biologics we have been working with for over 5 years, and others. But also we do not rule out at some point we would plan for our own facilities, because in the AAV gene therapy area, that actually it might be even more costly to use a CDMO than just doing it yourself.
Thank you, James. Eddy?
Yeah, thanks for that. So in fact, this is already our daily discussions within the company, is talking about the manufacturing and also the commercializations. I believe that this is the question cannot be very clear cut for every single product. Especially for our company, we have many different types of product, including cell therapy. So I can disclose that we are already committed to develop our own self-processing centers in China to make sure that we can continue to provide the continuous therapy to our patients in the future as well. But for some of the small molecule, then we don't believe that we have to build it, the own facilities or site by ourselves, because we can rely on some of the CDMOs or CMO outside as well. And on top of that, we have a series of smart devices, including the drug dispenser for microdosing. We have the dry eye device to stimulate the patients to produce the natural tears by themselves. For those type of know-how heavy technology, we have to think about it carefully to produce it internally as well. And at the same time, we don't want to have the information leakage to the industry. And at the same time, this is not easy to manufacture it outside as well. So I believe that for us, this is not a single clear-cut questions to see whether we need to have a site or not. It's product by product. We have the own set of the strategy for product. And at the same time, we have to consider at this moment is the supply chain issues as well. So for some of the material may be located outside of China, then how to make sure that the current supply chain will not be the issues. The chip storage worldwide may not be impacting on most of the other biotech, but for us, because we have a series of smart devices as well, we have to think about this, taking this into our considerations as well. And so for the commercializations as well, I cannot say there is a single clear-cut way to apply to all of our product. But based on our strategy, we call it dual engine strategy, focusing on the innovative product for the unmet medical need, and also targeting the consumer end product. In the futures, we may not need to have a huge size of the sales team, but we would like to have a good teams of the medical colleagues to do the medical educations for the cell therapy, for the gene therapy. At the same time, for the another markets, the consumer-based market, we may utilize more e-commerce channel instead of the big sales team. So again, this is really our daily discussions, and hopefully in the futures we could have chance to talk with the industrial folks and including the panel and just talk about the different thinking in the futures. But this is not really a single clear-cut solution applied to every single product.
Thank you, Eddy. I think we have so much more to discuss around this topic, but unfortunately we are running out of time. I think the key message here to our audience is that partnership definitely will play a very, very critical role, in bringing ecosystem together. So we need to be bold. We need to be creative in terms of partnership. So yeah, it perfectly wrap up our discussion for today. And thank you all the speakers. Hopefully we can see you for the next event. So I will hand it back to Yuan, please.
Thank you very much. Wish you all a good holiday season.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Right.
See you.
Right. Thank you, Ginger. Thank you, Eddy, James, Yuanbing, and Huayi for the fantastic roundtable discussion. We really learned a lot about China's biopharm licensing strategy, ranging from the future partnership, the manufacture, and commercialization. Thank you again for joining us